Hey everyone, welcome to Current Affairs Türkiye. This is Mehmet Çelik. In our first video for the channel, we will be talking about what's happening in Syria right now. It is a very hot topic and the region is boiling, and in addition to what's happening in Gaza, the genocide there, now we have the Syria developments that the focus has been shifting from Gaza slightly towards what's happening in Syria. So first of all, I think it's important to talk about what is happening there and why is it happening now, and also Turkey's position with regards to the developments in the region. So what happened initially in last week is that the opposition groups led by the HTS or Hayat Tahrir Sham, they have started their march against the Assad regime forces, and they have been actually moving towards the south, towards Damascus. They have already captured Hama, and they are right now surrounding Homs, and prior to that they had also defeated the regime in Idlib. So, as you know, the de-escalation zones were established after the Astana talks in 2017, but the de facto situation there was not as agreed on the paper. So the Assad regime, and sometimes they're backed by the Russian forces, were carrying out many airstrikes in the region, and actually very recently they had targeted a school where the kids were learning the Quran, and several kids were killed and many more were injured. But these attacks had been continuing for a while, and Turkey had had talked to its partners on the field to de-escalate the situation, to maintain the status quo as agreed on the Astana talks. But this was not actually carried out and not abided by, so there was a de facto escalation in the region. So after the very recent events, the opposition decided to launch these marches or offenses towards the Assad regime, and so far they have been very successful in moving towards from Idlib to Hama, now to Homs, and the ultimate goal, obviously, it is to move towards Damascus, where the Assad regime is supposedly residing at the moment, or staying at the moment. Now, here it's important to talk about Turkey's position. How does Turkey see these operations? First of all, I think it's important to highlight that Hayat Tahrir Sham, HTS, is recognized as a terrorist group, but there's other groups that are joining this offensive that are so there's a diverse group of or let's say an alliance as part of this opposition movement towards Damascus. So Turkey is not actually involved in the operations, nor does it back the HTS-led march towards the south. Although with what's happening right now, Turkey is backing Syrian National Army or the moderate opposition in northern Syria. So they're also moving towards east, where the YPG terrorist group is seeking to exploit the situation and capture a new area. So they are backing the moderate opposition to perhaps limit YPG's movement, or to make sure that they are capturing new areas where the moderate opposition can resettle in. So this is something that Turkey is not involved. We may have to make sure we know that in what's happening with the HTS-led group. And also, this is not something that Turkey had actually desired for it to happen, and that's why they had several times they had talked to the other partners on the field, like other partners in Astana talks, like Iran and Russia. But yes, and Turkey has also made a very strong call to Assad regime, given the situation on the ground, for a call and some sort of rapprochement, so that a future can be established for Syria, and this, given its many different actors on the field, Turkey wanted to ensure that it can facilitate a new platform where different parties can come together and they can talk about a future for Syria, or some sort of political transition eventually. But Assad, for one reason or another, didn't respond to Turkey's call and pushed forward some very unrealistic excuses so that he doesn't come to the table to meet Turkey. I think Turkey, in light of these very recent developments, Turkey's position is very clear when it comes to the YPG's presence in northern Syria, when it comes to supporting the moderate opposition, when it comes to ensuring that territorial integrity of Syria is protected. So these have been actually the very clear lines that Turkey had pushed forward to Assad regime, but for one reason or another, he didn't respond. So it means as it is important for the Syrians, territorial integrity of Syria is important for Turkey as well, and in addition to the establishment of a terror corridor or terror region along its southern border, Turkey wants to make sure there is a unified Syria, not a disunited or a Syria that is fractured into different pieces led by different entities. So territorial integrity is very important. In addition, I think a political process for the future of Syria is one of the ambitions of Turkey that Turkey wants to establish and has supported for that political transition. That support has even, it was even led to calls to Assad regime to see that whether he will be at least meeting Turkey and some of the opposition groups that Turkey supports. And, this war has been there since 2011. It is not going to last forever if there isn't a political solution. I mean, how much longer can people suffer? Can people be displaced? Can people be without hope for a future? And this is something that Turkey wanted to establish, and they have even moved towards Assad and his regime so that there can be a common ground where they can facilitate some sort of future for Syrians. But that seemed to be failed, and given the situation right now, it doesn't seem very feasible for that to happen any longer, at least for now. But we know that, of course, Turkey, Iran, and Russia will also be meeting in Astana. Will be meeting in Doha in the Astana format. So this is something that is also very important because Syria is backed by the Iranian state, by Iranians and also by the Russians. But the two states are also busy with their own crisis, such as Ukraine and such as the Hezbollah situation in Lebanon. So, time will show how whether they will continue to support Assad full force or whether they will push Assad to come to some sort of agreement with the opposition groups and have a future transition and in a political way, or see how that will be carried out. So there is some unknowns, but I think one of the important things is that at this point, if Russia and Assad regime also start carrying out intense airstrikes towards the opposition-held regions or areas, that will turn into something very bloody, I'm afraid. And this is something that, as President Erdogan on Friday spoke about, he said that, there is this marches towards Damascus, but in a region where there is already many other bleeding wounds, we don't want this new development to turn Syria into a new bloody arena. So I think Turkey will push forward for stability in Syria, regardless of this new movement, and regardless of how Assad is acting when it comes to Turkey extending the hand. So Turkey's aim is a stable Syria where Syrians are able to return to their homes in Syria, because this is one of the things for Turkey as well, that the safe and voluntary returns of refugees from Turkey back to their own country, back to their homeland and their homes. So the red lines for Turkey in this situation is elimination of the YPG and making sure that it does not capture new areas in northern Syria, so that it does not pose a security threat to Turkey and Turkish citizens. In addition to Syria's territorial integrity is important for Turkey and Ankara. And thirdly, I think making sure that a political future can take place for Syria and the Syrians. This is something that Turkey will work towards, and it does not want to see a country that is divided and is not stable right along its southern borders. And this is a few thoughts on what's happening on Syria right now without getting too much into details, just an outline of what is happening. But make sure you follow the channel Current Affairs Türkiye, subscribe to it, and comment and like the videos, and we will see you in the next video.